so much for listening. We're going to bring out our guest. So everybody make a big round of applause for Mike Juliano.
Don't bother, I can't hear it. Wow. That was great.
Thank you. Well, as always, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Juliano. It's hard to really say in like one word what I am, which sounds really pompous, so I apologize. It's not that. I just got my hand in too many things. I'm a creative director. I run my own creative agency, videographer, photographer, director,
That's
audio
awesome.
guy,
That's
designer,
all cool
web
things.
designer. Yeah.
Graphic and web design.
Yeah, graphic and web design. Trying to do less of the web design stuff.
Okay.
Which I'll get into if you want. It boils down to people, though. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, awesome. Well, I know that we have a special topic today, which is going to be AI and the impact of that on the creative industry, right?
Yeah, it's terrifying out there.
Why
but
would you
it's
say
exciting.
that? Why would you say it's terrifying?
Because I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say trivial jobs, but I think there's a lot of little things that people are very specialized in and they're very critical to the industry right now, and I think that there's going to be a time in the near future where they're not. And there's some of those things that I'm looking forward to. Like if there's a day where I never have to rotoscope scenes ever again, like hell yeah, I never want to do that ever again. But there are people that do that professionally, and you know that poses a real threat to their jobs.
Yeah, and that's scary. So we'll get into that more towards the end, but I just wanted to bring it up a little bit. But right now, this is all about you. So thank you for being here, and also thank you for sponsoring episodes 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Super cool of you, and I hope people take advantage of that 10% discount they can get.
Yeah, I mean, just mention the show and you get 10% off anything I do, so
I appreciate that.
Pretty
That's
solid.
Awesome. And I know they're going to appreciate it too. So let's jump into what inspired you to pursue this creative lifestyle, this creative profession that you've chosen.
Interestingly enough, so my dad kind of has always done a version of what I do. And I'm actually, in addition to running my own company, I'm the vice president of his. So we're a video production company almost exclusively. We do a lot of television advertising and things like that. But he's been in that industry since I was born.
Wow.
So
is
when
that
I was
separate from Mike Juliano?
That
Creative
is,
Service?
yeah, that's Vision Media. So I'm the vice president over there. We do a lot of like local automotive advertising and just national automotive and retail advertising. So you've probably seen my stuff without realizing it. But
commercials for like local dealerships?
Yeah, a lot of the local dealerships. I won't name names just because.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was like 7, I'd go in to work with him, and he'd just plant me on a computer, and I'd start playing Photoshop. And I thought I was making video games inside Photoshop, but I was learning graphic design slowly, or at least the tools behind it, none of the theory or anything like that. But that's kind of where it started. And I know that's obscene to think the 7-year-old was learning Photoshop, because I say that in a very loose sense. But by the time I was in middle school, I was the guy who was like making people MySpace layouts and things like that. So
very cool.
Yeah,
I wish I knew you back then.
Hey, you know, I actually in middle school designed the MySpace theme for the band The Devil Wears Prada.
What?
Yeah. So, you know, that was an early feather in my cap. But yeah, I mean, it's all kind of grown from there, and getting behind the camera is a more recent endeavor for me, not in relative terms. I started probably 13 years ago now, really behind the camera, and pursued it more probably 5 years ago.
Okay. So for the past 5 years, it's been like serious, not
that's
hobby.
kind of when I decided like I want to do that more than everything else I do. Like I want to grow that more than I do everything else I do. And it's not that I don't love the other stuff that I do, but there's an art form with the camera that feels more expressive than a lot of the other stuff I do. So I have a lot of fun with that.
That's really cool. Awesome. So let's go into like any advances in AI tools that you already use for your work that you do now.
I use a lot of the Photoshop AI tools, which is very lazy. But I don't mind that.
But that speaks highly of them?
Yeah. I mean, if it works well, I'm not going to not use it just because it's lazy. Like, listen, I've put in the grunt years. I've done all that stuff. I've removed all that stuff by hand. I know how to do it.
Right.
But if there's a way where I can highlight something and type in remove this person from the background and it does it convincingly, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, save me
time.
that hour. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Absolutely. As far as those features, are those new? Is this like 2024, 2023?
They were in beta like a year ago. Okay. And I was testing them out then, and the advancement is wild. Like when they first were in beta, it was a joke almost. It would be like you typed in anything and it gave you the most obscene version of that. Like you would never use it. And it wasn't simple things. It was always like it would generate something.
Okay.
Like I'm sure you've seen all those like early Mid-Journey pictures where it's like, oh, that's funny because I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Cool, but...
It was very much that. So now, I mean, it's something that's feasible to use in a workflow.
So in a year, it's come that far. Wow.
It's a big part of what I want to talk about later.
Okay. Very cool. Is it okay if we dive into a little bit of your music, which is outside, before we jump back into AI?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
At some point, I'd like to play a little bit of the track for people to hear for a little bit and tell them where they could listen to. But I want to dive into the musician side of yourself. You're not just a videographer. You're not just a director or a photographer. You're also a musician. You're also a songwriter.
I am. And not so much of late. And I think a lot of that is like February last year, I started Mike Juliano Creative Services. And so that needed all my attention. But I started releasing music back in, I want to say 2016, 2017. And I was going under the name The Second at the time, which that I just grew away from. And then I released an EP under the name Grave, which then got stylized as GRVE. But that project was actually really cool and kind of forced me to pursue this more seriously because I was running a podcast network at the time. And one of the shows that I did was a 12-week EP project. So in the span of one of my podcast seasons, so 12 weeks, I wrote, recorded, mastered, alongside with the help of a producer, a 5-track EP. And so it kind of put me under the gun. It's a lot. And it was...
12 songs, you said?
No, 5 songs.
5 songs. That's still a lot.
Yeah, if I was doing a song a week, because I was also doing like 4 other podcasts and working at the same time, so it was
goodness.
It was a lot as it is, but it was also kind of freeing because I knew that I have a tendency to just sit on tracks forever. Like I haven't put out anything in forever because I'm just never satisfied enough.
Yeah.
And I think
so
a lot of artists,
fire under your ass.
Yeah. So to say like, yeah, you have to put this out whether or not you love it or not. Like, I think I ended up with a couple tracks that still to this day I'm really fond of. Mm-hmm. But it also taught me that like if I'm not completely stoked on it, somebody might be, and that's where the value really lies. So
even if it's just one person you're saying that's stoked,
yeah,
it was worth it. That's why you were creating.
Yeah, exactly.
Really cool.
And then I took a hiatus. A lot of backstory here, but the short story is I got a really bad flu. And then I was new in a relationship, so I decided I'm not going to be a bummer. I'm going to travel to Philadelphia anyway when it was 30 degrees outside. So that flu became chronic bronchitis.
Okay.
And so my lungs from that point forward, like even now, are just not what they used to be. So I took a hiatus from the music. I'm like, this is really hard for me to do now. And it still is. It's still, a challenge for me to ever record. I think that's probably a big part of why I don't make as much music and why I don't perform.
Wow, it's had that much of an impact health-wise.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm sorry, man.
No, it's something I've had to learn to live with. It is what it is. And luckily my flare-ups aren't as bad as they used to be. So you start getting in that mindset of like, let me get back into it.
Yeah.
But around 2020, when shit hit the fan, and my wife and I had just gotten married, just bought our house, we're cooped up in it a lot, and I started getting that itch again. Like, hey, writing for me has always been an outlet, and I'm feeling a whole lot of feelings right now.
Yeah.
Let me write and let me get in contact with. I was lucky enough to release my first track as Unyouth, which is my current project. I was lucky enough to group up with a Canadian rapper, Transit 22, who I just adore. Great guy, great rapper, just excellent, talented musician who I had met in person in Miami, oddly enough, being in Calgary. But grouped up with him, we put out this track, and I just kind of thought that would probably be it.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a ton of plans, but then it got traction in a way that I didn't expect it to. I'm still very surprised that it did.
What's the name of this track?
That's To Whom It May Concern. That's on Spotify and everything. Everything I've done is on Spotify.
I can't wait to hear that. I don't think I've heard that.
It's a really cool track. It's kind of like a letter to yourself and kind of like acknowledging flaws while also saying like, don't let this defeat you. So it's positive in a roundabout way.
So look in the mirror, but don't let it squash you.
Basically, yeah. Like
let it help you.
Like acknowledge what you're going through, but don't let it be the thing around your neck that stops you from doing everything else.
Right.
So that was cathartic for me. And then I'm like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's got 10,000 streams. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me write some more because I got more in the tank. So I put out a handful of tracks. I was supposed to do an EP that didn't end up amounting to anything, partially because of another bout of really bad bronchitis.
Oh, man.
But I also just wasn't happy with where things were going. So I'm like, let me take another break. So that's kind of where I am now. But yeah, I've put out a handful of tracks. I did a track called Circles with your last guest, Leah Simmons. Love that song.
Love that song.
So yeah, it was the last one that I got to release under my own name. I did a song that I really love called Haunted with a producer called Chasing Haze. That I think is probably my best track, but it's under her name. So I kind of always feel like I need to get back there and top that and make it mine and just mine.
Whose name is it under?
Chasing Haze. I'm a featured artist on it, but I wrote it and recorded and everything. So
okay, how do we get the featured shout out on that?
I'm on there, but yeah, you can still find it if you look up Unyouth. So
we've got 3 tracks for people to listen to?
I think I've got... No, because I re-released all my stuff from my Grave project as an EP called Hindsight. Mm-hmm. So all that stuff is available. There's 6 tracks there, and then I think I've got 4 as Unyouth. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You got a lot of tracks out there.
I got some music out there, yeah.
And like you said a few minutes ago, you still got some in the tank.
I'm in the process of writing. I think a lot of it, too, is I'm not sure what shape I want it to take yet. Like, everything I've put out is hip-hop, but I love to sing, and I love so many different genres of music. Like, I grew up on metal, and I've gotten really into, like, folk lately. Like, I'm most of my recently played is, like, Amigo the Devil. And so, cool. Like, there's part of me that wants to be like, let me do something else and see if I want to come back to this.
Oh, wow.
We'll see.
Trying something new.
Yeah.
On the song that I've heard and love, Circles, I noticed that you're taking on the role of like a rapper.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. You're awesome. You're a really
Thank
good rapper.
You. Yeah. I don't credit myself as a rapper because I can't freestyle for shit. And I think rappers can. So I'm like a writer, and I'll record it out of like necessity. That's pretty much it.
If we had to choose some kind of artist, because you are giving a performance that's being recorded. Mm-hmm. So what would you call yourself?
No, I mean I'm a recording artist. Yeah, and okay. I'm a hip hop artist. In those songs. Yeah. But there's so many good rappers that I'm just like not one of them.
Respect. How about singing? Do you plan on singing
I do.
On any of these tracks?
I have actually in Haunted I sang the hook, and that was kind of like it made me want to do more. I've always liked to sing, and actually I used to scream a lot, which is cool. Surprising to people. But I used to, like in middle school and high school, I was this hardcore kid.
Oh, that's sick.
But yeah, I mean,
Do you want to give us a little?
No, not for the sake of the rest of this interview. No, bronchitis took those dreams away for sure. I don't scream anymore unless I'm in the car and have nothing to do for like 2 weeks after.
Oh, I bet that feels good.
It's nice, yeah.
Stress relief.
Get it out of there, yeah.
Cool. So before we go to the next topic, is there anything else about our music or your music that you want people to know?
Be on the lookout, I guess. I mean, I'm going to put out stuff when I want to put it out now. And there's freedom to that. But I also feel like I do need somebody to be like, hey, you have to put something out. So,
okay.
Hey,
well, I'll take on that role.
There you go. Yeah, you can force my hand.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to follow up and be like, hey, how's that track?
Where is it?
Yeah, I'll be positive about it.
Break my thumbs. Don't be positive. Come on.
Oh, you need that
I need
tough
the
love.
fire under my ass.
Okay. I got to exercise that tough love side of myself.
It's the only way I get anything done.
All right. I love it. All right. So let's go into the director side of things.
Okay.
I know you have a film coming out soon that you're going to start the process of recording soon?
So I'm starting crowdfunding for it on July 7th. It's called Tough Boy. It's a documentary that is actually about men's mental health. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about. A lot of that is because I fully credit therapy for saving my life. And I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I've found that a lot of guys are. A lot of guys shy away from the thought of therapy.
Yeah.
And shy away from talking about their feelings. And I know especially older generations are so conditioned to just like suck it up. And I think that's killed a lot of guys. I know it's killed a lot of guys because I've started doing the research. And so it's not like I'm not targeting men because I'm like, oh, boohoo men. This is a real problem that men are avoiding, that they've been taught their whole life to just deal with things and to just like move on.
Don't cry.
Don't cry. I was definitely one of those. I still cry very little, despite the fact that I consider myself pretty emotionally available. Mm-hmm. But I think there is still some of that, like, just really deeply conditioned in me that's like, unless I really have to, just don't. And so I really wanted to explore that, and I'm excited to do that. I want to talk to, mental health professionals, and I honestly, more than anything else, I want to talk to some guys who've been through it or are going through it and haven't yet pursued that option of really talking to somebody. And I think there's a lot of preconceived notions about therapy.
Yeah.
And I can, the first therapist that I ever went to almost swore me off therapy entirely because I showed up and I'm seeing this woman's like DeVry University stuff on the wall and I'm like, oh shit, already. And then in the first 10 minutes of the session, she goes, I want you to just close your eyes and lean back on the couch. I'm like, okay. And then she put on Enya.
Oh.
And once the Enya came on, I tuned out. I was just like, this is not going to help me. This is not what I need.
Oh, no. Your eyes probably shot open like.
It was a lot of just like, what am I doing here? Like, is this what this is? And I think experiences like that happen to a lot more people than we probably think and probably steer them away from the entire practice. Whereas since then, I've had multiple great therapists who have really helped me process things in a way that is healthy and have taught me, like, even when I'm not in therapy actively, which I currently am, but even when I'm not, I'm able to better process things. And so everyone that I've spoken to that has gone through therapy and has dealt with their mental health has had a similar experience where they're like, I feel more capable of handling life now as a result. So
it's huge.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have you on here as someone who is an advocate for doing that and seeking help for the mental health. I think it's interesting that you're targeting just like the men's side of things because you can relate to it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, are you looking to get answers out of the whole experience for yourself, or do you think that you've reached an okay place where you can share it with others and create a film about it?
I think a lot of it is, and this is something it took me a long time to understand, is that it's an ongoing process. So on average, I'm okay. There's times where I'm not going to be, and that's okay. Like, it's okay not to be okay, and it's good to feel your feelings. I really just want people to be aware that they don't have to just stick it out and don't have to suck it up.
Right.
Because that mentality is so hard to break. I mean, I've had personal relatives even that are so averse to handling their mental health in any way, and I find it so disturbing because if you broke your arm, you're not going to avoid going to the doctor. But if you're dealing with something that's causing your mind to feel broken, you're just going to let it slide. Like, it's...
Your brain's pretty important.
It's kind of, kind of everything.
One arm.
Yeah. I think that really is the goal of it, is to just raise awareness and make some people feel heard and seen. Because I know there's just a lot of guys out there that are like, I don't need to go to therapy. I don't need to deal with it. And I think if they can hear voices that are saying, like, this is what happens when you don't. And I don't mean that as a scare tactic, but, the suicide rates are through the roof for men. It's so much higher.
Do you happen to know those numbers by chance?
I do and I don't. I know them, but I don't have them on me, unfortunately. But it's something like 5 times.
Wow.
And it's heartbreaking to think about how many guys could have stopped that, could have stopped themselves from getting to that point by just seeking help. It is 100% a problem for humanity. The reason I'm targeting guys is because I've talked to so many that have expressed that they have no interest in seeking help. Whereas most of the women that I've talked to have either already sought help and have benefited from it, or they're open to the idea. I think that, open to it. Yeah, there's just a lot of, I think in the media, I think generationally, and I think less so in our generation, but certainly the generation above us, guys didn't talk about their feelings. I mean, it was unheard of.
It's true.
I just want to shed a light. So I think it's a good opportunity to do that, a good opportunity to speak to some people who really are experts on it, because I'm just somebody who cares about it. I'm not an expert by any means. So I want to use the stuff that I'm good at to help them get that message out.
You're an expert in capturing.
Sure. It's a learning experience for me too. So it's my first film. As you know, I've done music videos. I've done, years and years of commercial work. I've done a lot of corporate stuff. I shoot a lot of bands and things like that. But this is my first time really getting to sit there and say, like, this is the story I want to tell. So it's a good opportunity for me to expand my horizons.
I'm excited for you. I mean, as a human being, you're going to learn a lot because there's so many angles. You have the group of men who are on the fence about it, or considering it, but maybe they're scared to outwardly consider it. So maybe it's like an internal consideration. Then you have the people who are doing it currently. And then you have the people who have either come out on the bright side of things and got what they needed from it, don't feel like they need it anymore, or they stopped because they didn't feel like they got what they needed. Yeah. So you're gonna meet a lot of people. I'm excited to watch it.
I'm excited. It's it's gonna be a big undertaking. I'm trying to get it done pretty quickly. I'm trying to release it June of next year with crowdfunding starting next month. So it's gonna be a little bit of a whirlwind. But again, there's that thing of like, if I don't set that target, it'll sit, and I don't want to let it sit. So,
doesn't feel like you're gonna let it sit. Just
I won't.
Sitting next to you, feeling the energy, the excitement.
Yeah,
that's huge. And I want to take this opportunity to highlight the fact that you said just because it doesn't work out with the first therapist doesn't mean that therapy isn't for you, or that it's not going to work out. Yeah. So, I myself have talked to people who have tried it and it was not a good experience for them. It might have not even been the right person for them. Yeah. And then so quickly, it's not for me. Yeah. Where it makes me sad because what you said was really important. So how could you put that for all the guys listening, in terms of that, giving it a chance, even if it doesn't work out the first time?
I would say give it 5 tries. And I know that sounds like a lot. For every good therapist that I've had 3 bad ones. And not bad at their jobs, that's not what I mean, but bad fits. And finding a good therapist involves finding someone that you can confide in. And so that's like finding a friend. You need to find someone that you're so comfortable with that you can let the walls down. And it's a big ask. Like, I don't underestimate that. It's a big ask for people. It's a big ask for those guys who have been told to not talk about it, to all of a sudden overshare. Like, it's a big ask. And I think the other thing I'd say is don't go into it with that mindset that you're going to go in, tell them everything, cry, and you'll get better.
Right.
It's a process. Your first meeting with somebody is really a feel-out process. It's like a first date without all the weird sexual tension.
Yeah, unbiased.
It's like...
third party.
It's meeting somebody, seeing the way they speak to me. Do I feel comfortable with that? The questions they're asking me, do they feel relevant? Because if you're telling somebody something that is affecting you, and they're asking you questions that feel like they're out of left field, I've been to enough to tell you that's probably a sign it's time to find a different one. Because I've been there. Like, I'm saying, hey, I'm having like real issues at work. I've got a very weird work situation. And they're like, okay, well, tell me about what's going on at home. Like, okay, I'm having a real weird work situation. Like, we can get to that, but like, I do want to address this. So it's a hard process. And I don't take that away from anybody. I don't fault anybody for getting frustrated with the process either. Different people are going to speak to different people in a way that resonates with them.
Right.
Just like with anything. And I think that's what people need to realize is like, you don't like everybody you meet. You're not going to resonate with every therapist you meet either, because they're just people too. All they really are is an unbiased third party who can hear about your problems and give you a perspective that isn't tainted by your preconceptions. It's not
still a relationship.
Exactly. So if you don't like them as a therapist, you probably wouldn't like them as a person. That's fair. You don't have to like everybody.
Right.
And you don't have to get along with everybody. But that doesn't mean there isn't somebody out there who you will. So
come in positive, but come in with realistic expectations that the same way you walk into a social gathering and you're not going to like everybody.
Yeah.
You're not going to like every therapist.
And you're going to have other doctors, too, that you don't vibe with. That's normal, too.
Right.
I've had doctors with terrible bedside manner, and I don't go back to them. But I do get a different one. So you have to kind of treat it the same way.
You don't stop going to the doctor.
Exactly. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's finding one that works for you. So.
And I think you were also kind of speaking to those who are in that profession on the other side of the camera, or I say camera, 2024, but whether it's in person or on the phone or via FaceTime. But I feel like you're speaking to them too, saying, if I, as your patient, if I'm saying something on our 30 minutes allotted time, can we dive into that a little deeper instead of brushing it off? If I bring it up during our special time together, it's probably important.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody who goes into a therapy session, unless, like, when I've been on weekly schedules, I've had days where I'm just like, I don't have anything I want to talk about. Like, you can ask me questions, but I'm either so high strung at that point where I'm just like not in the mood and not really reflective on how I'm feeling. So I'm just like, I don't need to talk about anything. We're good.
Yeah.
Or I'm genuinely just like, nothing's bothering me at the moment, so I'm not thinking about it, even if it is still chipping away inside. But yeah, I mean, if somebody comes into a session and they have something to talk about, you got to know that's valuable time to them. They're paying for that time. So yeah, I hope in the process of making the film and in talking to more mental health experts, because I'm exclusively going to talk to therapists that I have not used. Cool. I think that's vital. I don't want any of that bias in, but I do want to kind of gauge where a lot of that stuff comes from, where a lot of maybe even the stuff that currently I feel like is extraneous and maybe unnecessary, like where that's birthed from, where does that actually lead? Is that going to, in the long run, address these concerns? So I have a lot to learn about the practice.
Well, I, for one, I'm very excited to follow your process of creating it, and definitely going to watch it when it eventually comes out. And I think it's cool that you're someone who can talk the talk, walk the walk. You've done the therapy. You're in the therapy now. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to give your own internal perspective, but also you're going to be able to step back with the camera and let other people who are in different stages of the process talk about their experience too.
And I think that's my ultimate goal, is to not really tell my own story too much, because it would be very easy for me to just say, well, this is what happened to me, and this is how it helped me, and why isn't it helping you this way, and here's how it should. But I want people to tell the story. Like, I'm happy, and I'm planning after the fact, after the movie releases, to do a podcast continuing the research, continuing the discussion. So that's my opportunity to share my side. I want this to be like, I've got a goal in what I want to say with the movie, but I can't tell you what it is yet because everybody has to contribute. Everybody's going to help me tell this story, so it's not my story to tell.
Well, thank you for being so open and vulnerable, to diving into a really deep topic. I'm glad we spent a good amount of time on that, because
I think a lot of it too has to come down to, it's not that big a deal. Like, if you said I had a checkup today, nobody would bat an eye. You said you have therapy today and people want to ask you what's wrong. So I think there's a lot of that stigma that needs to be broken, and that's when I launch the Kickstarter, you'll be able to kind of read how I put that into words. But this stigma around mental health as being this vulnerable topic and being this deep topic that is almost like taboo needs to be broken. It's got to be shattered. It's not the case. It's part of your health. Just like anything that you would need to take to with your physical health, you kind of have to treat it the same. And we're not there yet as a culture. We're getting there. It's getting better, but we're so far from it still. So,
well, you're bringing us closer by bringing it up. And I also want to add to that and say, check on your friends.
Yeah.
Check on your friends, even the ones that are smiling all the time, even the ones who seem the most positive, who seem the most okay. I saw a commercial the other day where two guys were at a game and they would meet for... The idea is they would meet every week for the same game. Mm-hmm. And one of them was super giddy and like loud and excited about the game, and the other one looked all like kind of slumped over and depressed. And as you watch the commercial, you think you know where it's heading. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the commercial, the one that's missing is the one that was all excited and giddy.
I know when Robin Williams passed, there was so much of that, like, oh my God, him?
Right.
But it's like, listen, I have resting misery face, but I'm actually going to therapy and I'm pretty okay.
You're a happy guy.
But I do know a lot of people that are extremely boisterous. But then if you actually get a second to talk to them, it's like, dude, you need to go like chat with somebody. You need to really get this figured out, because I think there's a lot of compensation that happens there. I think especially in comedians, there's a lot of that, like channeling it in a way that is creatively wonderful.
Yeah. Saying some dark things with a smile on your face.
But it's so unhealthy. Yeah. And I'm guilty of the same thing sometimes. Like, I do tend to use humor to mask how I'm really feeling. I think it's a coping mechanism. But there's got to be a point where you're like, okay, if they're joking about this so much, they might really be feeling it. And yeah, like you said, check on your friends. It's the least we can do as friends. I mean, it's like, if you're not doing that, you're probably not a friend. So just check in on people. It's not hard, and not everybody's always going to be ready to open up, but just knowing that somebody's there is huge.
So huge.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking about that and being super open. I hope that anybody who's on the fence about it gives it a chance, 5 chances.
Yeah.
Or more. I'm glad that you said that. A higher number is better, just to see find somebody who meshes with you, somebody you feel comfortable with. And now we're speaking to men and women. Mm-hmm. You know, speaking to an unbiased third party is going to help you even just get stuff off your chest. Ever talk to a friend and you just unload on them and you just feel lighter at the end?
Yeah.
Imagine speaking to someone who's not going to force feed you that advice you didn't ask for back, or who's not biased because they know so-and-so, or they think they know you. You know, whatever it may be, we love them. We love the people who listen, but there's something to that third party listening.
There's something to somebody who's not just going to be your cheerleader too. Like, I've had to get real wake-up calls from my therapist before where it's like, no, you're in the wrong here. Yeah. And I have to step back and really look at that. And it's never what you want to hear, but sometimes it's what you have to hear. So
I can vouch for that. I'll add to what you're saying, and I'll be open myself. I've done therapy, and what you just said is so valid.
Yeah.
Where not only will they put a mirror up to your face, but they'll ask you, hey, why don't you create boundaries? Because it's an uncomfortable conversation? Yeah. Well, what's wrong with an uncomfortable conversation?
Yeah.
Have it, and then you set your boundaries, but put yourself first.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to learn from these therapists. Shout out to my therapist. I won't say any names, but thank you for being open and vulnerable.
Of course, yeah.
So let's go into our next big topic of the evening.
All right.
Which is AI.
AI.
Or Skynet.
Skynet.
Want to give some of our younger viewers a little background on why you said
on
Skynet?
On Terminator 2. Terminator in general. But yeah, T2's the GOAT. I mean, come on now.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm just saying, just in case.
If you don't know, Skynet is the AI that takes over the world in the Terminator films. Go watch them. I don't need to explain this. That's ridiculous. Go watch Terminator 2. It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, but listen, I think Justin Timberlake got a DUI or some kind of thing.
That's true.
And the
Someone
cop
who didn't know him
was young enough, they said, that he didn't know who Justin Timberlake was. That's a hard one for me.
That's not even grandpa status. That's just like, you're out of touch at that point.
Are you under a rock? I mean, it's not like he stopped performing either. But
I don't think that's an age thing. I think that's just some weirdo. So
anyways, go watch Terminator.
Go watch Terminator.
If you haven't.
That's all we're here to talk about, really. It's Terminator 2.
Done. Mic drop.
Yep.
So anyways, let's jump into that. Why are we so concerned about AI as a creator?
So we talked a little earlier about how quickly like the Photoshop AI had advanced. Mm-hmm. That's happening across the board. AI video in particular. I'm sure a lot of people have seen those comparisons of like, there's that video of like Michael Jordan eating spaghetti, or it's Will Smith eating spaghetti. And it's like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. Like, it's flying in all directions into his face. And you're like, that's stupid, of course. And then you see something that's released 1 year later to the date, and it's believable. It's like well produced, like well shot, well lit, well color graded. It all just looks really good. And if you didn't know it was AI, you probably wouldn't know.
That's scary.
That's terrifying. As somebody who has dedicated their life to learning those various art forms and you know, the electronic side of things too. Like, I'm a big gear guy, and so having to learn all that stuff and spending the money on that stuff and everything that goes into that, and then having somebody type in a paragraph prompt into an AI generator and getting something that blows out of the water in terms of visual effects, would I'd ever have the budget to do. That's alarming. It's and I'm always on the fence about it because I'm a huge nerd.
Is it alarming in the sense of being the creator on the outside who's competing against it, or does it take away from the alertness when you put yourself on the side of the person who's using it?
I think both. I think there's the privacy aspect of it, of people stealing people's faces and making them do and say things they didn't do. I'm a huge Florida Panthers fan, and I just saw something of head coach Paul Maurice like giving a fake press conference that he didn't give.
No way.
And it AI generated his voice, and it was moving his mouth. and they took footage from an actual press conference to make it look real. And people were buying it in the comments, and I'm like, holy shit, this is terrifying. Way. Like, this is not okay.
That's crazy.
It's bad. And, you know, there's the more sinister side of that with things like porn, where you've got celebrities that are all of a sudden showing up in porn, and they're like, how do I stop this? And how do you stop AI from doing that?
That's terrifying. So in this regard, it's not even just terrifying to a creative individual. It's scary for a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a creative, I think it's scary to me because it makes me worry about becoming obsolete. And that's a selfish reason, I guess, to be afraid of it. And like I said, I'm conflicted because I am such a nerd, so I'm excited about the technological aspect of it. I'm like, this is so cool what's being developed so quickly. But the fact that it's teaching itself, that's too much. Like machine learning, and that's not to get too technical. That's most of what we call AI is actually machine learning. It's not really artificial intelligence. It's like a subset of it. But the fact that we have these software systems teaching themselves constantly with everything we've put on the internet. So everything. And then in addition, everything that it's fed on a daily basis is growing its knowledge. I think we're going to reach a point here pretty soon where we have to put the brakes on, or at least the inhibitors, and say, okay, we need to put this in the right hands, make sure that it's in the right hands at all times, and at least, you know, levels of it. Like, I don't care if people who have meme pages want to make fake videos of Will Smith eating spaghetti. That doesn't bother me. But when you've got the potential to have government officials saying things that could start wars, it's frightening.
It is.
But, you know, again, I worry about, not even just for myself, I worry about the art of it all dying. Like the art of photography, the art of videography. If someone can generate whatever they want by typing it in well enough, if it's where it is now at this point and it's where it was a year ago, I think looking ahead is what scares me as a creative. Saying that in a year, maybe they don't even need me to come take their picture because they can upload their faces and tell the AI to put them wherever they want to be, and it'll look like they were there.
Do you think we're already too late on putting the brakes on it?
I don't, only because I think there's still really valid applications for it. I think that if it's used as a tool, and I know it is used as a tool in the medical industry where it's made huge advancements, I think that stuff is critical. That's what it should be doing. And I think if it's used as a tool even for creatives, like where I said, I don't need to spend an hour brushing that guy out of the background of a photo. If I can focus on the artistic side and let AI handle the minutia, that's fine. I don't take any issue with that. But I think if it gets to a point where we're finding more often than not that the uses for it are insidious, then there has to be some restriction, or at least a redirection. Because if all this stuff is going into ChatGPT and making it so that none of these students have to write their own papers and they're not learning anything as a result, then how many of those resources could be used towards finding cures for diseases and really taking away, like, robots are supposed to do the menial tasks. If we've ever seen the Jetsons, that's what robots are supposed to be doing, is the shit we don't want to do.
Vacuum.
There's a meme that's like, our robots are out creating art while we're slaving away in our jobs. It was supposed to be the other way around. There's a lot of truth to that. Like, wow. If we're designing our robots to be our artists, where's our creative freedom go?
That is terrifying.
It's frightening. I remember hearing a year ago an AI generated Jay-Z song and thinking, like, this could pass.
I've heard a few different
it's weird
AI generated celebrity songs, and I'm just like, I know it sounds a little bit off still, but with another update or you know, with another year, like you said, all the advancements that have been made in the past year.
That's really what it is. Is like, now I'm still at a point where if I look at something hard enough, I can distinguish that it's AI. I don't know if that'll still be the case even a month from now. I don't know. It's getting so good.
Well, play a game with me here. I'm usually the optimist.
Okay.
But I'm going to switch sides for right now. I'm going to play the pessimist. I'm going to say we're a little late. AI, it's on its train. It's taken off. You either hop on or you hop off, or you don't. Your choice, right? What do you think, Mike, is the best call for a creative individual? Do you jump on the train fully, learn how to use it, and use it? Or are you some kind of hybrid? You're half on, half off? Or do you say, hey, I'm going to be hardcore artist, original, I don't need any AI helping me come up with anything?
It's tough to say because there's a couple different ways to look at it. Like, I know one guy in particular who I would consider him an AI artist. He's got a real style to the way he creates things. Do I think he's doing it in the traditional manner? Of course not. But he's found a way to make art with it. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool, I guess. Like, nothing I would put up in my home, but okay, you're doing your thing. It looks cool. Good job. I think they have to be separated to an extent. Like, I think you're going to, if you're especially in a professional creative field, like, hey, if you're just making art for the sake of it, stick to the real tools. Make it the real way. But I'm running a business, and I can't rely on that solely. So if my goal is to make money and AI plays a role in that, and becomes the way that things are done, I can't really get left behind because I'll end up being less productive than my competitor. So I think we're going to all be forced in a way to adapt, but it would never be what I consider art. Like, if that's your end goal, is to go out and capture art and to do something that makes you feel something, I hope that's never AI. And I can't ever say never, but I hope not.
Well, I feel like you cleared that up pretty well for people. You said, if this is just a hobby or if this is just a love, passion project, something that makes you feel good and money has zero to do with it, do it your way. You don't need AI. Be raw with it. Be real with it. Be authentic.
Yeah.
But if you do want to make money with it, if you do want to be part of the evolution, there's always like a certain amount of evolving as an entrepreneur with your business. If you don't evolve with the trends, or maybe that's the wrong word, if you don't evolve with the changes of society, you could get left behind.
And if you're not capitalizing on the tools that you're presented with, there's something to be said for that. Like, that goes the same with other gear too. Like, if you've had a camera for 10 years and you're like, I only ever need to shoot 1080p. That's it. That's all I ever want to shoot. And you're ignoring all these 6K, 8K sensors. You're kind of getting left behind by your own volition. So there's something to be said for that too. Like, if something comes along, like I said, all of a sudden my After Effects can rotoscope for me, or it can do all these keys and stuff in the background. I don't have to think about it. Why am I not going to use that?
Right.
Just shave all that off my workflow. Hell yeah. I don't want to do any of that ever again. I would already choose to never do any of that ever again. So it's about finding uses for it. I think that don't take away from the art. Like, if I can focus on composition, I can focus on lighting, I can focus on the things that make an image look good, and then I can use AI to clean it up after the fact, I don't take issue with that.
That's cool. So correct me if I'm wrong. You're totally okay with the side of AI that's going to help enhance your workflow. And if you're a DIY artist, it's going to enhance or reduce the amount of time that would have taken you doing things in the past. So you're okay with it making certain menial tasks obsolete, but you're not okay with it making the artist obsolete.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about that as I do the robots in my house. I don't care if a robot scoops the cat's poop. I don't care if a robot is vacuuming the house for me. I didn't want to do those things in the first place.
Yeah.
So if it's taking the joy out of it, that's one thing.
Right.
But if it's taking away the stuff that I dreaded doing anyway, awesome.
Right. Like if you come home and your robot is chatting up your wife, you're going to
exactly.
be like, hello.
Yeah. That's my job.
Hey. But same with the creative stuff. That's important.
And I do want to share one thing that it's very top of mind for me right now, but it has to do with AI. And it goes to the business side of it. So I paid Yelp for ads. I was running Yelp ads, doing very well with them. And you had a review on there, and I had 9 5-star reviews on there. All legit, all from real clients. None of them asked for. Yelp's AI software has hidden all of them.
I remember you mentioned that to me. I thought I was hoping like it was something you just pressed and they all showed up. Or
Google has done all the same, or the same, but with one that came from my wife. So Google, if you're listening, you missed the one that wasn't legit. But as a result, my inquiries have plummeted. Because bizarre. Now when people are looking up a local videography business, they're seeing one with no reviews.
That's bizarre.
The frightening part of it, as it's upsetting on its own, but the frightening part of it is that when I call Yelp, they say, we can't do anything about it. We can't supersede the AI's decision. So if the AI software has determined the review is not valuable, it has to be listed as not valuable, and they can't change it.
Okay, now we're stepping into the dark side of AI.
Yeah, and some of these were clients that I got from Yelp.
YouTube? How about YouTube? Did you try? What did they say?
I don't get reviews on YouTube.
Okay.
So it's not really relevant. But Google issue, the same way. I mean, YouTube is just a Google company, so I'm sure they treat it the same way.
We gotta find a solution. If anybody watches at any point, whether live or after, and they have a solution for my EQ.
Yelp didn't.
Yeah.
But if you work at Yelp and you're watching, change that shit. That's awful.
Yeah, that is awful because we've worked together, Mike and I, and I left a review, and that should be there.
It's gone.
We're going to have to experiment. Even I have to do a few. I don't mind.
It's a mess, though. I mean, and I've had clients say, like, I left you a review, did you delete it? And that's awful to feel. Like, of course not. No, why would I delete your 5-star review? And then I have to go on Yelp and see that it's just not there.
That's so messed up. Well, I'm going to look into that for you myself because I feel like that's not really fair. You know, you did the hard work to work with us as clients. We leave reviews that are honest and they're not showing up.
It's crushing small businesses.
Wonder if that's like a rampant issue. Have you heard with other people? Okay.
Yeah, I did the research because I was looking into it as a possible class action. I was getting probably 3 or 4 inquiries a day from Yelp when my reviews were up.
Okay.
I've gotten 0 in the past 2 months since they took them down.
So this is new.
Yeah.
Please leave us your comments if you have any ideas. We're gonna research it.
Yeah.
And that'll have to be something you come back for because I want to follow up.
Listen, I think it's kind of forcing my hand to look for alternate avenues of, acquiring business, which is tough for me because, like I said, I work a full-time job as well, so I can't dedicate all this time to like cold calling and visiting businesses and things like that. So yeah,
have you
it's just
tried the social media ads and stuff yet?
I've got Instagram ads running and occasional hits, but not enough to offset what this AI decision has done to me.
Wow.
So
well, as you guys can see, this AI thing is not black and white.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things. You're using it to enhance your workflow. And then there's a dark side where it's supposedly AI powered and it's not letting you show your reviews.
I mean, I think the most frightening part of that is that there has to be the possibility of human interjection.
Right.
The fact that they took that away from themselves is alarming. So something to look out for.
Something to definitely look out for, especially that's been within the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? On that topic, I think anybody who sees this should reach out to you if they have a creative project in mind, whether that's a music video, getting headshots done, getting special event photos done. Do you do weddings?
I don't do weddings out of choice.
Okay.
I have no desire to deal with a bridezilla.
So any event besides a wedding is
yeah,
okay?
I'll do corporate events. I've actually shot birthday parties, which was odd for me, but I'll do it. But yeah, I mean anything photo video that isn't a wedding, I'll do.
Small businesses, whether it's photography.
Yeah, I mean honestly, I'd love to get more into that side of things, is dealing with businesses. I've been in the retail space for so long, so much of that is just like second nature to me as it is, and I think I don't get enough time to flex my post-production muscle, which is what I do on a daily basis every day. So I really want to do more of that in my business too.
Is it because you're doing that under a different name? Is that why you're saying you don't?
Well, I haven't gotten to do it in my business a lot. So and I think a lot of it too is just the way things are trending. Like small businesses now are encouraged to do their own media, which is hard to argue when you see the results. So you've got all these small businesses just making Instagram reels and TikToks and blowing it up.
Yeah.
And how am I supposed to say like, but wait, if you hire me and spend over $1,000, I'll produce you something that looks great. They're like, I don't care.
So what do you think the solution to that is? Maybe jumping on, doing everything you already do in terms of quality service, but then jumping on the social media as well?
No, because I think there's other people for that. The luxury that I have in that my business is not my sole source of income, is that I can stick to doing what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to do that. So I think it's okay for me to say, like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I've spent a long time getting not my skill set, partially my skill set, but my gear too, like, up to snuff. And so for me to then be like, I made all my money this week on my phone, it's not what I want. Like, and that is not to take away from the people that do that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. That
you found an avenue. Honestly, anybody who's doing that now is in a very new industry. So that's awesome. No taking away from that.
It's just not what you want to do.
Just not what I want to do.
You have the freedom to kind of choose what you want to do with your creative business because you have your other job as well.
Yeah.
That's like good tips.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't have something else funneling.
Oh, it's fine. You're part of the show now.
When you don't have something else funneling your cost, that's when you might have to take some of the jobs you don't necessarily want to do, like the weddings or the social media.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on what you got going for yourself individually, right?
And I think staying open to some of that stuff, like when I shot that birthday party, I'm like, this is so weird. Why am I doing this? But everybody was super nice, and I think it went really well. They were very happy. It was also an instance where nobody there spoke English, so I was also just kind of like...
That makes it a little harder.
It was tricky, but I had a good time, and it was interesting, and it's an experience. Though, right? Yeah.
You wouldn't know that it wasn't for you if you didn't try it?
Yeah.
And you made money that day? I'm
sure? I made money, and, I still got to do what I like to do, and I love just taking pictures of people, and so I got to do that. Yeah. So I can't complain.
I love it. So people can go to MikeJuliano.com to book with you?
Yeah, you can find me on there. You can find me on Instagram, Mike Juliano Creative. I don't go on anything else. I probably should.
It doesn't sound like you really need to. You got a good balance of it all going.
I probably should. But I don't like Twitter. Every time I've tried Twitter, I leave Twitter within, moments.
Same.
So
you're the first person I feel I can relate to on that. I've tried it, at different points in my life, and I'm just like,
yeah, just not for me.
It's okay. I guess there's a platform for everybody, right? I like Instagram.
I think I liked Instagram more when it was a picture platform. There was something simple about it. Mm-hmm. I still use it more as a business tool than anything else now, because I just don't love social media as a whole. It's a topic for another time. But yeah, it's it's so video focused now. It's surprising. It's so reels focused, and the algorithm is so
for you, I would assume.
Yeah, but it's so keyed into people's faces and things like that. So even produced content just kind of flops on Instagram, but it's still the most visual media or social media there is, in my opinion. Sure. And I'm way too old to be on TikTok. Just not physically, just mentally too old to be on TikTok.
Okay, gotcha. Just want to have people. I want people to be clear on what they can reach out to you for. So
Yeah.
you have over 15 years of experience, right?
I do.
And you can help people with
Photography, videography, web design, graphic design, and most subsets of those things. So
music videos,
headshots, live concert photos. If you look at my portfolio, it's a lot of live concert photos. I didn't choose that. It just kind of happened.
Those are awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, listen, I love doing it. It's funny because I just kind of fell into it. Like, it was an easy place. And honestly, Leah's shows were among my first shows that I shot.
Shout out, Leah.
Yeah.
We love you.
And that was kind of my first foray into it. And then as a result of that, like, other bands would reach out, or I would shoot a show and end up shooting the whole set, even though only one band had me there. And then another band that was there wanted me for a different show. So my portfolio has accidentally gotten very band heavy.
That's awesome. And that's always fun.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I love live music. Everybody's always happy.
Yeah. There's listen, if I'm going to be working, there's worse environments for sure.
True. And I'm sure the bands appreciate it. Those come in clutch for them.
Yeah.
For their press kits.
Mm-hmm.
And when they want to be booking more shows and people ask them for their current material. So that's cool that you're a part of that.
Yeah.
You're an artist yourself and you're a part of other artists' growth.
It's always exciting to me, like, if I go check on, like, a local artist's Spotify and I see they're using my photos and, like, their official photos. It's always exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure it pumps you up.
Yeah.
You're like, hey. Okay.
Like, you could have let me know. That would have been cool. But also, this is cool to just stumble upon, too.
True. Well, I hope you guys check out my music video that he directed. It was a song called Whirlwind by QST featuring me. And I hope you guys will check that out. It was a great time filming it. The vibes were stellar while working with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. To close up our conversation on the AI, I want to look ahead now. What ethical considerations do you believe are important as AI becomes more prevalent?
You know, I think we touched on it already, but I think privacy's huge. You know, there's the whole my creative side of it that I have my fears about, but I think just in terms of like a human rights thing, I think privacy's got to be paramount. Like, I know that people have a responsibility too to be more careful about what they're posting. And that's just kind of a general rule, but I don't know necessarily that we should have to be afraid of AI coming in and taking our photos and making us do things that we're not doing. So I think ethically that's something that needs to be approached, even if it's at a software level, just not allowing that stuff to happen.
So be educated, but don't be scared to use it.
Yeah,
as the user.
Listen, I've tooled around with it. Some of it's fun. It's again, as a huge nerd, and I can't stress that enough, I'm just the lamest dude, but it's so cool technologically to see what is happening with the tech is just so rapid, but it's alarming at the same time because of that. So my concerns today might not be my concerns 3 weeks from now. I mean, I'm seeing videos of like robots that are powered by ChatGPT now, and they can have full conversations with you while they do your dishes. And listen, if I've got a robot that wants to do my dishes, hell yeah.
Sign me
that
up.
Dude can be parked at the sink. I don't care. But it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to think about, and I think we just ethically we got to be using it in the way that benefits humanity, not takes away from humanity. And again, I think that goes into that, like, don't take my art away, take my chores away.
Use it for good.
Yeah.
Not for evil.
And especially as we get into robotics and things like that, which is way off my expertise, but as we get into that stuff and AI is powering that stuff, get it to the people who need it. Get it to the people who can't necessarily perform every function on their own. Give it to the people who maybe in assisted living situations or people who even just need companionship. There's so much of that.
Oh, what a wonderful idea.
I mean, it needs to go to people who need it, and it needs to benefit the people, or why does it exist?
That was my next question, had to do with the integrity of using it. And at first, I would have thought, you would have said, don't use it for everything. Don't put in a prompt that says, hey, create my entire documentary for me. And you didn't do anything, but you put your name on it, right? Seems like a little wonky integrity-wise there.
And there's that, but I think I have enough faith or lack of faith in AI to think that, like, I don't think we're going to get there.
Okay.
Because I think that human element, especially in documentary filmmaking, I'll just say all filmmaking, is always going to be necessary. Because I think the best stories are told through human connection. With any luck, that's something that AI is never going to be able to do properly. So I'm not terrified about that. I don't think that is ever going to be the case. I think people will be able to make movies without lifting a camera. I do believe that. With any luck, we're not going to be making full movies just with a prompt.
We still need that human element.
I hope so.
That brings me hope hearing you say that. I'm glad that we're wrapping this AI conversation with sense of positivity.
I gotta hope.
Awesome, man. Well, I think we've covered a lot of the AI. Is there anything else AI related that you feel like we didn't cover yet?
I think the only advice I'd give people regarding AI, and this will be just kind of the kind of summary statement, is if you're interested in AI to create art, create it the traditional way first. Because I think even if that just influences the way that you generate your AI, if it teaches you the fundamentals of angles and lighting and color theory and things like that, if that's all you use it for, if that's all you use that knowledge for, is to know how to better type your prompt, it's still valuable knowledge and it's still fulfilling knowledge to have, because it goes so far beyond just like pen and paper knowledge. It's not everything is stuff you're going to find in a book. Some of it is just getting your hands on it and feeling it. Like I'm honestly not a terribly trained photographer. I know my way around a camera because I've been shooting video for so long. But in terms of actual photography study, very little.
Wow. I wouldn't have known that.
I think a lot of that is just from picking it up and feeling it and doing it. Because there's no better teacher than doing it. I went to school for business administration. I have no real formal education on anything that I do on a day-to-day basis.
But you do it.
But you have to do it. And that's the best teacher, is you get out there and you fuck things up and you learn from that and you just keep going.
So it sounds like you're telling everybody, if you're going to do this, have a real, authentic foundation of artistry. Be the actual artist before you bring AI into the picture.
And listen, I can't say that people are going to follow that advice, but that's what I would recommend, is certainly, like, before you go imitate it, do it for real.
But it almost sounds like you'd be bringing that human element to any project you did, whether AI related or not, if you had that foundation of doing it as the artist yourself.
Yeah, I think you're certainly going to generate something that feels more authentic if you know what makes something visually appealing to the human eye. Because if you just tell an AI to create a scene, it'll create it, but it's never going to feel satisfying unless you tell it exactly what to do. So yeah, having that hands-on experience and having done it yourself, even if you haven't been able to execute it perfectly, like, that's huge.
Something you just said now was huge too, is that what's AI going to do without you?
That's something we don't want to find out. Let's end on the positive note. Let's not go there.
You're right. And we'll have to have you come back for a few different topics now. This has been an awesome conversation. So I want to get into the tradition of the podcast that we've started. We have a jar here full of positive affirmations, and I want you to grab one. You can just, go for whichever one feels right and read it, and let's see what people think about what you got. What did you get?
So I got from Tag, do is the first part of done.
Ooh.
which I think does tap into a lot of what we talked about. So
it does. How would you say?
I would say, even in what we were just talking about, like how you should really pick it up and do it yourself before you go try doing something else and trying to generate something that isn't authentic. So
that's huge. I love that. That's what you got. Thank you, Tag, for that. I'm excited for you to put one in here because I think you have a lot of positive things to say. You're a positive guy with great vibes. So as I talk about the sponsor and play your song as we exit, if you could write one and add one.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to write your name on the back so people know that it was you.
Thank you.
For those of you who have joined us live, thank you. As I always say, if you can't tune in live, we're going to be reposting these episodes, full episodes with the musical performances, with the interviews, and then also we have a separate playlist called Arigato Vibes Live Music Sessions, where we're just going to put the music performances for those who want quick clips, or for those who just want the music. So speaking of music, I'm about to play Mike's song. It's called Circles, and he goes by the name Unyouth. It's featuring our last guest, Leah Simmons, so shout out to her and her amazing vocals.
Crossover app.
Ain't slept in days, faced the night but then it turned away. Spent so long now on the fence, and if I shut you down, that's self-defense. I'm not tired, fading, some days just feel like waiting. That clock keeps going round and laps, and if I don't slow down, I think I'm gonna collapse. And I can tell myself that I'm above this. Break it down, try to change the function. Chinning up ain't a matter of gumption. If it is, just plot my self-destruction. This stress still feels like a hand-me-down. Take it back, heavy lies the crown. Give me back my solid ground. I wanna feel like my mind is safe and sound. It goes.
I don't wanna think about it too much.
You guys chill this.
So my singing is actually buried in the hook as well.
Really?
I did a real murder by death low voice here.
Ooh, I gotta hear it.
Take a deep breath, it's fine.
So a little insider scoop on that last part of the hook where Leah goes, "It's fine." And we joke about that to this day because we did like endless takes on that because it kept coming out just like that. It was like, "It's fine."
I think whatever take you ended on was perfect.
It worked out.
But I love it.
With a permanent smile. In truth, ain't been in a while. There's a part of me that's got more to give.
You'll do it 100 times. That's how you know you're dedicated. If you need one word and you'll do it 1,000 times to get it right.
Well, the dedication started right away because we didn't even know each other terribly well at the time. And the first thing that happened when she came into my house to record, because my recording studio was set up in my office, was my cat swiped at her arm and made her bleed. And I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. You can leave if you want. Like, I can't fault you if you just walk out the door right now. But she was a trooper. She bandaged up and got right back to it. But
that's a good story for getting into a big project like that.
I was like, of course. Thank you, Oswald, for your feature here.
Oswald, I've met Oswald. He's so cute.
He's a beautiful man.
I should have told you to bring a photo of him. Next time you got to bring a framed little.
It has to be framed because I've got like a billion on my phone.
Oh.
My phone photos are...
I think as your song fades out, we gotta see a picture of Oswald.
You gotta see the boy.
Ooh, I like how your vocals changed on this outro. Was that a telephone effect?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Alright. I love it, man. You guys can find this song on every music platform. It's called Circles by Unyouth featuring Leah Simmons. So go stream that right now.
I don't know the best way to bring this up, but that's him at his most ominous.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to show the close-up camera right here. Make sure we put that in the episode, and for anybody who's watching live, they got to see this too. Do you see that?
Look at that boy.
Look at this kitty. How handsome he is. I'm gonna zoom into that, put flowers around it, stars.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Like our conversation was deep.
I like to get deep.
Yeah.
I'm not a surface level guy.
I love it. Well, I hope you'll come back again. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Arigato Vibes Live, episode 4, with Mike Juliano. I hope you guys will join us again next week. We have our next guest, Chris Martell. He is a director, another creative individual who I have had the pleasure of working with. So I'm excited for you guys to tune into that. Don't miss it. Mike, is there anything else you'd like to say? I want to give you the chance to close today.
Ooh, hey, thanks for watching. I'm really proud of you for doing this. I know that's maybe an unusual outro for me to take, but I want to honor you here. I think it's awesome to give people this kind of outlet and to give people this spotlight. I know a lot of us, especially in, you and I are in a very crowded scene. And I think that's whether you're a musician, whether you're a videographer, a photographer, South Florida is just bombarded. So having a place to feel like you're heard and you have a chance to speak your mind is just really cool. So thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Of course.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.